How's it going, people? SamSlabber here, and this is Runescape Lore episode 1.1. So, this episode is kind of a continuation of the Elder Gods. I was originally going to carry on with the Marjara and cover Wahasirtal, but we have quite a lot more information on the Elder Gods since the latest quest came out with Zaros. So I thought I should probably backdate and start covering some of the things which we now know. So, obviously we're going to be starting off with 1.1 Elder Gods. We're continuing on, and with quite a bit more information on the Elder Gods themselves, to be totally honest. So, let's get started then. In the first episode, at the time of recording, we didn't really know much about the Elder Gods themselves. We knew about 3 of them in particular. That was Jaz, Full, and the Runescape Elder God. We now know, or at least personally I believe this is the Runescape Elder God's real name, as Ma, from doing the Fate of the Gods quest in-game. Additionally, on completing that quest, you can go around collecting Elder Fragments, or Chronicles I should say, and we found out about 2 more Elder Gods, which was Wen and Bick. So all in all, we have quite a lot of information, so let's get into it. The Elder Gods are also known as the Creators, and to our knowledge, there are 5 of them. They are legendary and divine creatures responsible for creating the planets and the entirety of life within the universe. There's no real way you can probably describe the amount of sheer power the Elder Gods actually hold. They are much, much more powerful than any of the gods that you actually know, the younger gods as they're called. Gods such as Zaros, Sen, Zamorak, Saradomin, Guthix, Armadil, Bandos, they just don't compare at all to the power of the Elder Gods. They are immensely strong. They occupy the highest tier of godhood, hands down, without question. And all in all, there are 5. Jaz, Full, Wen, Bick, and Ma. Jaz, actually, out of all 5, is the oldest, while Ma is actually the youngest. Each Elder God, again, also represents a facet of time. Jaz is known to resemble the facet of progression. Full would be consistency, or constancy I should say, sorry. Wen would be inversion, Bick is alteration, and Ma is potential. It's not known whether or not the Elder Gods can actually be killed though, as there's been quite a lot of conflicting information between the mods Ollie and Osborne, though Ollie's statement is one of the more recent of the 2, and therefore may, at the moment, be the official stance. They were, however, also created themselves apparently, which actually could mean that there is an even more powerful existence than the Elder Gods themselves. Jaz is the Elder Goddess of air and progression, and is the most powerful of the Elder Gods, and is also the creator of most Elder artifacts. To our knowledge at least, except for the Elder Kiln and possibly a few others. They used the Elder artifacts to better shape their creations, which we covered in the first episode. This was in their quest to create a perfect world, a utopia, if you could say so, which was filled with the making of Gielinor, which was their final creation. Afterward though, the Elder Gods seemingly seemed to vanish, leaving their abandoned artifacts scattered throughout Gielinor to later be discovered by the younger gods. Proof of the Elder Gods existing, let alone the fact that we have all these chronicles and we've had information from the mods of Jagex themselves and things like that, is actually in-game, and quite a long time ago in-game, to be totally honest. When you do the quest Meet in History, you can actually talk to Laura. It's one of the NPCs inside the quest itself, if you bothered to actually go around talking to random people. But basically, you ask her about gods, the other gods that should exist during this time. And basically, she just says she's never heard of those names before. Guthix, though, apparently frequently came back to them once upon a time ago, and kept coming back, basically to ensure that balance was kept and that he wasn't introducing something that would completely and utterly upset the balance of the world. But Guthix himself actually said very little. I think he just wanted us to be aware that he existed and to give us some understanding in those first days. He spoke a lot about balance and encouraging us to live in harmony with our surroundings. To feel free to use our environment, but still not to abuse it. It seems that he had not created this world and actually spoke of elder gods that existed in a time before he could remember, although of this matter he actually said very little. And that statement kind of holds true. Very little is genuinely known about the elder gods, their nature, or their actions for that matter. The only physical remains of their time period, to our knowledge at the moment, is the elder artifacts themselves, such as the Stone of Jazz. And, you know, an ancient artifact said to be used by the gods and was meant to have been created by Jazz herself, is responsible for creating rune essence. I mean, the Stone of Jazz is, well, in a nutshell, uber powerful. And it was created, this immensely powerful artifact was created. To put it into perspective, with the use of the Stone of Jazz, as well as having access to another elder artifact, the Staff of Armadil, Zamorak became a god. Although it did take siphoning some of Zaros' power, but either way, he became a god. And it was thanks to the Stone of Jazz. On top of that, the player themselves, by doing quests, doing like the Ritual of Marjara, etc., you come into contact with the Stone of Jazz, and we became immensely powerful. You know, this thing was made, and yet it gives you immense powers, even if you're young gods or just plain human. It's immensely powerful. So if they can make something like that, it goes to show just a little bit of how overpowered the Elder Gods are. That is the perfect word for the Elder Gods. They are overpowered. It is possible that the knowledge of the Elder Gods has survived up to the current age of Gielinor in the form of kind of myths from the Elder Dragons, which was actually discussed inside the Book of Folklore. They believe it to have been created to throw doubt on the idea of Gielinor being barren before the gods arrived. Elder gods are also spoken of by the Takar Hawk, and they're referred to as masters. They created the Takar using the Elder Kiln to create and shape mountains of Gielinor itself. And the Takar actually state that they are not gods as the players think of them, but far more powerful. The players' gods are corporal beings who abused his master's artifacts to gain sheer power, and in his opinion, don't even deserve worship. According to Takar Hawk, the Takar await the return of their masters to Gielinor, which suggests that they were in fact still alive in the universe. According to Zaros, when you complete the Fate of the Gods and throughout the quest, the Elder Gods are actually still in Gielinor itself, in a place called the Elder Halls of Gielinor. However, at the same time, mods have also implied that they are features of the landscape that the players have actually walked on, particularly where Elder Chronicles are said to be found. In addition, there is also a little bit of hidden lore about the Elder Gods from the point of view of the Tazar. The lore is actually found in a bookcase next to the Fight Cauldron, and can be translated with the aid of Tsar Galkot, although I did read some of those out to you previously in the last episode, in episode 1. So let's get into the gods themselves then. Let's start off with Jazz. So Jazz is the oldest of the bunch, and, well, is been known to create quite a lot of the artifacts we've actually known and kind of seen in game. Elder Gods are the ancient beings responsible for the creation of the universe, including Gielinor itself. Of all the Elder Gods, Jazz is the most powerful. She is described by the Takar Hawk as time, and so time passes. She is sand, and so there is desert. It's been said that the Elder Gods do not specifically represent an element per se or an aspect, but Jazz is most aligned with progression, and also has an association with sand and air. In addition to the role she played in shaping the universe, Jazz is specifically responsible for creating almost all of the Elder artifacts, using the Stone of Jazz, which was the first artifact and the one that most purely expressed her power. And I am coding that as well. That's official. The one that has played the most prominent role in Gilinor's history at the same time is also the Stone of Jazz. And since the Stone of Jazz most purely expressed her power, how much power of Jazz itself it holds, who knows, but whoever uses the Stone of Jazz, their power grows exponentially. It grows enough for you to rival gods, etc., which is also most likely why she enslaved the Dragonkin, which she did actually bind the Dragonkin to the stone in order to prevent its power from being misused. So kind of like a defense mechanism. The Elder Gods shaped many worlds throughout the universe, each time improving their designs with the assistance of these artifacts, including the Elder Kiln. After creating Gilnor though, meant to be their final and most perfect creations, the Elder Gods, according to the Tok'ar from the books in the Tok'ar, they lay down upon their perfect world, and spoke no more to the Tok'ar Hawk. Now comparing that information to what we know from what the mod said about apparently where the Chronicles lie is potentially where the Elder Gods themselves lie, that would suggest that the gods are where the Chronicles are. So keeping that in mind, the Elder Gods did not depart from Gilinar after creating it. Instead, they are definitely still remain within Gilinar. In fact, Jazz's Elder Chronicle itself can be found on the Ulek cliffs, suggesting that she is either underneath, possibly, or actually is the Ulek cliffs. Which, yeah, kind of goes to show, gives you a little bit of information. If you're wondering where Ulek is, it is the far southeast corner of the Caridian Desert. It's those massive canyons where you've got the alligators and stuff in the very southeast in the little swamp / oasis. That massive set of canyons there. That huge ass rock. So either she's underneath it, inside it, or actually is it. Apparently, going by what we know so far, that is the most likely conclusion we could possibly come to, especially due to like statements made by the mods themselves and from what the Chronicles actually say. So Jazz's Chronicle itself, I'm not going to spoil it, you can actually complete the quest in game, it gives you a little bit of information. So let's move on to Full. So Full is the Elder Goddess of Constancy and Fire. She is created of the Elder Kiln and the Tok'ar race. She actually created them. And before the translation of the book written by a member of the Tok'ar, pretty much nothing at all was known about Full. Literally nothing at all. She is the second oldest Elder God apparently, as well as the second most powerful. Full and her fellow Elder Gods created many planets in the multiverse. They created them successfully in an attempt to create the perfect world, as we said. Originally they did start to create them with their bare hands, but after failing, they ended up actually creating the Elder God artifacts which we've covered previously. Full in particular, we know for certain, created the Elder Kiln, and the Elder Kiln were the Tok'ar were a product of the Elder Kiln, and they were made to simply build and shape mountains on top of the planets. When the Elder Gods found the world they created to be imperfect, they would take their artifacts, rip them off the planet, and with each failure experience, the gods and their artifacts, Full, the Elder Kiln, the Tok'ar, grew more and more skillful in creating worlds. And the gods eventually created Gilinar, which they deemed perfect. And Full, just like Jazz, can be found with the Chronicle and going by the statements by the mods as well as stuff in-game. They're either in, around, or are certain parts where the Chronicle are found. So with that said, the Tok'ar can be found in the Karamja volcano to this day. Full, along with the other Elder Gods, excluding Ma, rest on Gilinar. She specifically resides either underneath actually is the Karamja volcano. So that massive volcano, she either resides underneath it or simply is that entire volcano. We're not really sure, but that's apparently where she is. So Jazz you can find in the very southeast of the Karamja desert, and you can find Full at the Karamja volcano. That's what we're going on so far. That's the best information we got. Next in the list is Bic, also one of the 5 elder gods responsible for creating the universe. She's the second youngest elder god, as well as the second weakest of all 3 elder gods depicted in the original Origins of Gilnor picture. She is actually the one on the right, the one that looks kind of like a tree. And after the fate of the gods, we now know where the Elder Chronicles reside, and you can find them using the measure. And Bic resides actually on Intrana, weirdly enough. So Bic is either underneath Intrana or actually is Intrana, which is interesting because if I remember rightly, during the Second Age, I'm pretty sure Saradomin came through a portal on Intrana. So whether or not that is possibly intertwined with why or how he managed to do it and get into Intrana, or why he chose that place, I have no idea. But it's kind of interesting to see, nonetheless. Moving on to the next one is Wen. This is another new one, just like Bic. We didn't know about these 2 previously. She is the elder god that is mostly related to ice and coldness. She's the 3rd oldest elder god, as well as the 3rd most powerful apparently. And also, according to Mod Rowley, her facet of time is said to be inversion. And her chronicle itself can be found on top of Ice Mountain, so again, she either is or is residing underneath Ice Mountain. And moving on to the last one, and this one we learned quite a bit about this. I assume Ma is the official name of the Fernesque Elder God, because to this day we only know about 5, and we did know the Fernesque Elder God was a thing, and since you can go to Fernesque during the Fate of the Gods and you do encounter an Elder God there, which goes by the name of Ma, I must assume they're both the same thing. So Ma is the youngest of the Elder Gods, and simply put, she's also the weakest of the lot, which is surprising if you've completed the quest itself. She is responsible for creating Zaros, as well as Seren. Additionally, the Majra race, and is the only known Elder God to have deliberately actually created life for purposes other than protecting Elder artifacts or to build worlds. Now let's just go over that last sentence again. Ma is the weakest of the Elder Gods. She made Zaros and Seren, and the Majra. Now, if you've seen the god ratings, Zaros and Seren are both right up there. I think it's tier 2, which is basically uber gods compared to the younger gods. On top of that, she created the Majra race, which basically slaughters humankind. She made them, and she's the weakest, and she can make tier 2 gods. Weakest one out of the lot, makes a tier 2 god, doesn't bat an eyelash. You know? Just goes to show how immensely powerful these Elder Gods are, let's be honest. Wahisiatl, also known as Ali the Wise as his disguise, first mentioned Ma in his tale in the Tale of Muspah, the actual quest. And he did say that Ma, now that we know her name is Ma, is a cruel and archaic creator god, which is where the Fernesque creator god came into it. She is said to have created the Muspah as well, which is further elaborated when you go for Wahisiatl's memory from the Majra Memories mini-quest. Ma also makes an appearance in the Fate of the Gods, as you know. She's actually first dormant, she's kind of sleeping on Fernesque, but, you know, we're adventurers, we like to poke things. And, you know, you might poke a sleeping bear and kind of regret it later. Well, that's what we did. So Ma is kind of awake and raging. Good times. So history-wise, according to the Majra legends, Ma is evil. In a nutshell, she is meant to be incredibly evil. And she is said to have created the Majra atop a volcano, which led the Majra to call her mother. So, Mother Ma. Apparently this is where her name comes from. Ancient Majra was said to take a pilgrimage to the volcano in order to speak with her and learn magic, construction and other aspects for survival. When she slept deeply though, hordes of Muspa, powerful beings created by combining her most fearsome creatures, are said to have spawned from her dreams, with the only known way to stop them being performing the ritual of the rejuvenation to actually awaken Ma. When she got angry though, she is said to have created earthquakes and avalanches, with the similar ritual of innervation or reproduction being the only way to calm her down and prevent it. Yeah. So, when she sleeps, hordes of evil, powerful enemies just appear and start ripping everything in her surroundings to shreds. That's pretty good, yeah? And you then need to perform the ritual of rejuvenation to actually wake her up, which takes one entire Majra's life. And the Majra are powerful enough to basically lay waste to most of humankind. And that's just to wake her up. Yeah, that's real kind. I feel safe. Apparently when she gets angry, she's said to have created earthquakes and avalanches. So having a fit, a little rage fit, she can create earthquakes. You know? I mean, come on now. How immensely powerful do you have to be? This is OP to shit. Seattle believes her to be nothing but a myth though, as both she and the Muspas had not been sighted for thousands of years before his birth. Despite this, both the rituals of rejuvenation and innervation remained part of Majra culture while they remained on Runescape. Upon being approached by the Menethite god Xlarin and Amascut, the Majra voted to leave Runescape for Gielinor, as you may already know. After Amascut was disgusted by the Majra and went into Mars volcano, a great bellowing roar came from it, and rocks rained from the sky. While unable to prove it though, the Majra Bilrak believe it to be caused by Ma. It's quite nice, yeah. When the Majra arrived on Gielinor, and when Azanadra told Zaros of Ma, he did not question her existence at all, and on his suggestion they resumed the rituals, as on Gielinor. The ritual would instead rejuvenate the Majra. While the modern Majra disputed whether or not Mother Ma truly existed, they continued to mate only during earthquakes due to the legend. Unlike the other elder gods, it is said that she preferred to work on her own though. In truth, she was thought stillborn by the elder gods, and was actually left abandoned on Runescape. However, she did indeed survive, and she decided to take residence there. The lack of anima mundi though severely stunted her mental capacity, and she created Zaros and Seren to be her dolls. Zaros eventually actually came to resent Ma, and he ended up leaving Runescape as you know, while Seren did indeed actually stay behind, attempting to care for her creator as best as she could, though eventually Seren additionally left. Yeah, that's pretty much all the information we got on the Elder Gods, but it's kind of surprising nonetheless. So yeah, Ma, bit of a nutcase, gonna be honest, bit mental. So she sleeps and lays waste to the world. She wakes up, goes in a rage fit, lays waste to the world. Creates tier 2 gods, for God's sake, to be her dolls. She's the weakest of the lot. I can't wait to see the rest. This is just going to be so amusing. Wonder what's going to happen to the world. One of them might cry and we'll all drown. There we go, people. That is your RuneScape lore. Enough of my cynicism. I hope you all enjoyed, found some useful information there, and until next time, I will catch you all later. Have a good one.